Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. Before I go any further into this, I want to specify that I'm trying to kind of separate my different kinds of content at different channels in order to not only fix my standing in the YouTube algorithm, but also to separate the content to places where the people that want to watch that certain thing don't have to go through all sorts of different things in order to get to where they want to watch. That's why I'm trying to do that. So I hesitated in order to make this video because I didn't want this to bog down the rest of the content. However, I feel as though this is something that needs to be addressed, and I want to also preface this by saying that once again I'm going to be talking about TYT and the Young Turks because they once again decided they were going to misconstrue what someone has said. Now, this is not just the TYT network, it was other people, because we're going to talk about Kim Iverson and what she said about the Oxford school shooting and the suspect in this, Ethan Crumbley. Now, I want you to look at this tweet here from a person who just has the handle of Skeptical Spice or K. And I want you to keep in mind that even though it says it's 56 seconds, this is actually a 30-second clip looped twice. I'm not sure what's going on there, or maybe they just want us to view it twice or something like that because they believe that a 30-second clip represents an entire 9-minute video. I want you to keep this in mind because I also want you to watch the entire video that appeared on Rising, because TYT is actually going to try to use this clip as a means to go into a notion that had nothing to do with what her point was. Now, TYT is, as you know, a very controversial progressive channel which has been gaining some enemies recently. Have you noticed this? Have you noticed how many different people they want to pick a fight with in the past few months? Jimmy Dore, Aaron Monte, Glenn Greenwald, they always have to smear Julian Assange, and now they're going to smear Kim Iverson. Of course, Joe Rogan has also been smeared, but he is non-cancelable. But they made a video in which she's talking about mental illness in Ethan Crumbley, how the idea of gun laws, and how the media tries to spin everything into playing the race card. And in nowhere did she say that she thought the media was saying that all white people commit these crimes. But what she is saying is that the media is overplaying that part of the discussion and is using that to stoke division within people instead of talking about the real issues, which is mental illness, and how that gets underreported by the media and gets underreported by data and statistics and that because of how the stigma between whether or not young men and boys are able to feel as though they can come forward with these sort of issues because of the stigma that goes along with it. And that, oh, you're a wuss if you have mental illness and decide to come forward. If you're a boy or a man, you're supposed to man up and deal with it and not come forward with that sort of thing. It's a general stereotype on that front. But instead of having to deal with that and say that they have failed in that system, they're instead going to play this card. They're instead going to play this card. And it is MSNBC, it is some people on The Sun, which they have been morally bankrupt in the past, but it seems as though she had triggered TYT the most because, as you know, TYT has this thing where they always have to respond to these. They can't help themselves, and they go for the lowest hanging fruit imaginable, and they misrepresent things that are right in front of other people's faces. I mean, did you see what AJW said about this whole thing with Candace Owens, where she said by rate, and TYT insisted that she said by race, and they went off on that misrepresentation. There was no way you could have misrepresented what she has said. Somehow TYT did that. And I don't know, again, why I am still subscribed to these people. I don't know why anybody is still watching them and taking them seriously. But again, people who are commenting here and are tweeting to her still believe that she said one thing when she said something completely different. I'm talking about Kim Iverson here, because in this 30-second clip, it makes it think as though she is saying that these outlets are saying that all white people commit crimes. That's not what she said. That doesn't come close to what she said unless you take that 30-second clip. And then, of course, Anna and Kim have their fight on Twitter, which Anna seems like she has to get in there. She has to say something. This is the same woman who who lied about what Jimmy Dore said to her. This is the same person who flipped off Mate on their members-only channel thinking that no one could see them because they were behind a paywall when somebody caught them in the act. These are the same type of people who continuously say that somehow Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines with a weapon in hand. And I'm not making a distinction of whether or not anybody is guilty or innocent here. Ethan Crumbley has still go through the same trial that anybody else would have to go through, although the evidence should suspect him to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. However, this is not necessarily about whether or not you agree with Kim Iverson's points about how the media interprets these things. Obviously, there's a huge problem, even though maybe you could say that there's a bit of an overreach here. There's a bit of over-exaggeration, and maybe you could disagree with her about what she thinks should happen with guns and ammo, guns separated from ammunition, locked up separately. I do disagree about her representation about him playing Minecraft. I'm not sure where that came from. Maybe she just said that as passing, or hopefully not saying that as if everybody who plays Minecraft is a murderer. I would hope that's not the case. I know a lot of people who play Minecraft and they're far from being violent, but there you go. However, I love the fact that a 30-second clip that someone took completely out of context is what is incriminating her in the eyes of TYT and in the eyes of these people and these mindless sheep that just go right for whatever they tell them. Let me be quite honest with you. TYT is not the final say in progressivism. I have considered myself progressive for many years now, and TYT has never used to be like this. They never used to be like this, and I'm not just saying after the Jeffrey Kratzenberg investment. It only takes one. $2 billion, I think it was. They said, oh, we only take one. It only takes one for you to become corrupted. And Kratzenberg is one of the most corrupt people in Hollywood. He was the one that was pushing for Soapbox. He was the one person that was problematic in all sorts of ways. That was the worst person to take your one investment from, because he has such an amount of influence in everything. It would be one thing if you took your one investment from a unknown law firm or something like that, which not many people knew about or had to look at to figure out what was going on. This is a person that was not only known to have his hands very much dirty and very much in the way of influencing a lot of things in Hollywood, but is known to be a complete douchebag. And you want to tell me that this one investment you took, which you have not said the name of, you won't say the name of at all, is not influencing you? I call BS on that. And they're just going to sit there and say that no one tells her what to say. I also call BS on that because maybe Cenk is being told what to say by Jeffrey Kratzenberg. Or maybe she believes in what Jeffrey Kratzenberg says, which is worse, because maybe they were pretending before, and now that they got this investment, now they can say what they really feel, that they started to go down this path. And now we're seeing this full circle. We're seeing that people who used to be on their side wondering what the hell happened to them. What in the hell happened to this once great network? What happened with Cenk? What happened here? And what happened to objectability here from their fan base? Now, I'm not talking about people who are able to figure out whether or not they're lying, which they do all the time, but there's people like those who are watching this video that they made about Kim Iverson and then think that, oh, that's what she meant, that's what she said, so we're gonna go with that even though we never even watched the video. We never even watched the actual Rising video. And they're not the only people to do this. The Vanguard just did it. They just took this 30-minute clip, which looped twice by this person, and all of a sudden thought that was the only thing she ever said, that it was just a 30-second clip, when it's obvious there was more to it. It was obvious that if they actually went and watched the actual video, they could maybe get a different take of what she actually said. TYT is known to do this. We saw him do this with Jimmy Dore. We saw him do this a lot of times. I saw him do it in real time. I know they're lying. I know they're not telling you the entire truth. They mean to do that because they want to deceive you. They want for you to think that's what she said. This is not by accident. And yes, we are allowed to disagree with people. I certainly disagree with some of her points. I disagree just now by her inserting the Minecraft stuff into this whole thing. But that doesn't mean that her point isn't valid. There is a clear issue with how we address mental illness in this country. There is a clear indication that we have failed in addressing this concern. Because if you take a look at how the media described the Joker movie, and how they thought, oh, well, someone's going to view this and think it's very good to go shoot up a theater like what happened a few years ago. And everybody just took it when they realized that perhaps the reason why they're not wanting people to see it because they don't want that particular situation being addressed. In that movie, Arthur Fleck's illness just gets medicine thrown at it. And maybe people don't really understand or don't want to understand what he's going through. And of course, he does turn into the Joker. He does these horrible things in response to it, sure. But imagine if they got to him sooner. Imagine if our system got to these people sooner or have been able to properly address these concerns sooner. We would not have as many of these issues going on today. We would not have this discussion because we wouldn't need to have the discussion because the system would have gotten to Ethan Crumbley before it got to this point, before he found the weapons, before he found the ammunition, before he had this thought in his head. People didn't like him and he was going to go do whatever he did. Before the media decided, oh, we already know what the motive is before we even hear what the motive is. That's what it is. And the vilification of Kim Iverson is not going to fix this because that's not what she said at all in any context. It's not what she said. Why are we pretending that we know what she said? Because, quite frankly, we didn't. Three-fourths of the people who watched that Young Turks video probably didn't even watch the entirety of that Rising video. The Vanguard didn't watch the entirety of the video. And I want to bring that into discussion as well because how many more times are we going to hear about TYT picking fights with people before YouTube takes action here? How many more times are we going to hear about this? How many more times are we going to hear about the latest person that TYT is smearing? And yes, they did smear her. And yes, they heard her apology now. They owe her an apology. Yet they are going out and doing this. How many more times are we going to hear about this before TYT gets taken to task by YouTube or somebody else? This is rhetoric that is dangerous. It is not heard on MSNBC or CNN or even Fox. They don't have this sort of thing going on there. It's TYT and just TYT. This is a different level because they think they could get away with it because they're not held by the same standards that any of these other outlets are. Now, I'm also talking about the right-wing outlets like Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro. And them too. How many more times are they going to make a video every time either them or Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson or Meghan McCain breathe? How many more times are we going to hear about the latest crap they took on TYT? How many more times are they going to talk about that without talking about the real issues facing our country? It's like they're obsessed with these people. They're also obsessed with picking fights with other people who would otherwise be on their side about other issues. TYT is not the be-all end-all of progressivism. They should be on the lower rung by now. No, they're not getting the numbers they used to, and that's a good thing, but somehow they still have the power that they had before. Somehow they just got crazier, and someone has got to really take them down a peg. I've been begging and pleading Joe Rogan or somebody to sue him. Maybe Kyle Rittenhouse will. Who knows? They keep picking fights with these people. They're going to pick a fight with the wrong person. They are going to pick a fight with the wrong person. They're going to get burned for it. Because this is not entertainment. Somebody could get the wrong idea by the incendiary language that they're saying. And by the constant screaming that Cenk does and thinks that he can call out anybody who calls him out on it. Calls Anna out on her constant bickering and whining and moaning. Now, the other thing is that they did cite this FBI statistic, and I'm trying to find the truth in all of that because the FBI statistics on the types of people who commit what types of crimes are really, really broken down into ways where it's really hard to get a clear understanding without like doing some math there. I'm trying to ask people who might be a little bit smarter than me into where the facts and the fabrications are and all of that, but hopefully someone smarter than me can decipher those numbers because there's a lot there that you have to get through in order to get to where they're getting that information. Hopefully we can figure out one way or another about the validity of those statements that Anna has made, because from what I've seen come out of them in the past, I really doubt TYT is being honest about that either. So no, I don't believe anybody who says that Kim was full of BS because they're judging it on a few seconds of information about what she said that she didn't actually say. And yes, Kim is tipping off the right people. If TYT is angry at her, she's the one's on the right. And I would love to see if she will address this herself on the Rising or something other than Twitter. And I also want to see what Ryan Grimm does because they actually mentioned that he was a TYT contributor, but she's been a part of the Rising for a while and she's been pretty popular over there and they get along pretty well. So I would love to see if this changes his viewpoint about TYT a little bit. I wonder what happens. Maybe this wakes Ryan Grimm up a little bit, and maybe this is what causes him to say, you know what, I've had enough as well. I wonder if he becomes the next person to smear. I'm not going to hold my breath on anybody really doing anything about this, although hopefully someone finally shows them that they can't just say whatever the hell they want and get away with it. If they're going to continue to do more and more of this and to throw down and keep trying to pick fights when they don't actually have to, then maybe it's going to take someone like Kim Iverson or Kyle or other people like Joe Rogan to show them just how much their words and how they can somehow mix up race with rate will actually hurt them at the end of the day. My name's AD Shadow. That just happened.